Hi everyone and welcome to another craft tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how I decorate a pillow box, and also this is my entry into the Lawn Fanatics challenge number 31, which is flowers, floral and foliage. Just to get that out there. So first we're going to start with a pillow box. This is a pillow box by Fawn, and that is what I'm cutting my cardstock out with. And then I am going to stamp that with my celery stick ink. Now I really wanted to have used the celery stick paper or cardstock, however I do not have that in my stash yet, so I'm using some green apple by Simon Says Stamp, and that works really fun too. What I'm gonna stamp is these little teeny tiny leaves. Now I went through all my stamp set and pick out 4 different leaves, and depending on what different stamp set you have, you might have more or less of those, but you can choose to stamp something else. What I liked with this was that it made a pattern, a very subtle pattern, and kind of tone on tone. I'm also masking off the little flaps on the box. This is just a personal preference from me. I want them to be very clean, so therefore I don't want to have any leaves on them, but you can leave them as they are if you want to. Like, you can do anything you want, you know. Then I'm taking my little cluster of little stamps here, and I'm turning them in a different direction to give the pattern more an uneven look, which I really like. That kind of just filling the paper with these kind of leaves. I really like the tone on tone because that makes it a very soft background, and therefore anything you put on it will by default stand out a little bit more, being that it is this tone on tone, so that the background won't take over from the details I want to add, because we are going to layer everything. But that is my first foliage piece. So now we're going to put this little box together. I am using my Teflon bone folder to kind of sharp those creases. I love this one. I never gotten so good creases as I get with this Teflon bone folder. And after that I'm adding some tape. I'm using some Be Creative double-sided. It's a very good tape because it's very sticky tape. And a tip, if you have a hard time removing that little paper, back paper, just go over with a bone folder or the back of a pen, something, because if you push it down, it will stick more to the cardstock and therefore it will be easier to remove the paper. And when you close this, remember to put the one with the hole down first, because then it's easier to actually open this little pillow box. And I'm going to put everything on to the side where the folds upwards to get a nicer line. So these are the stamps I'm going to use today. First of all, it is the Blissful Botanicals. This is this stamp set. And I'm basically going to use all of them. Then I'm going to use this Home Sweet Home, where I'm going to use the congrats and the kind of label there for that. I am going to use the Critters in the Forest, those little toadstools, and then I'm going to have some fairies from Fairy Friends. Now 2 of those stamp sets are sadly retired, which is the Blissful Botanicals and the Home Sweet Home. However, because of that, I have decided to let go of mine. And if you want to have mine that are loved, they're colored, but will not stain when you stamp. But if you want them, I have put them up in my Etsy store, and you can find the links where you find all of my links to all of the supplies in the description down below and over on my blog. I'm using some licorice ink black licorice ink. This is, if you let it dry a little while, you can work it with your Copics. So that is what I'm doing. And a little note, I did stamp the fairies and the, I don't know what they're called. Gosh, every time there is one word, those little flyy things in the corner. I've stamped them with some Tim Holtz archival ink on some vellum, and I'm going to show you when I color that. However, the stamping of it didn't went into a movie because my camera is cut off, but just so you know, those I stamped in that because that dries on the vellum, which this licorice ink didn't. I'm doing very simple coloring, but as usual, you can get the real-time coloring of this. Again, that is linked in the description at the end of the video and up in the right corner, where I will kind of talk about the coloring. It's just a 10-minute video today because this coloring went very, very fast. It's super simple coloring. Small characters doesn't need that much details or that much additive to actually look good. The smaller something is, the less color you need to actually makes beautiful shadows. You can just use your darkest and your midtone. So yeah, I'm trying to use the same colors on all of the different things. So I'm using one combination of green, one of purple, and one red. And then I have the neutrals, which is the gray, the brown, and the skin color. And those are just the colors I'm using because I want it to be very unified and simple. I also color a lot of things here that I'm actually not using, but because I'm kind of randomly using stuff, I just put all the coloring in. But in the end, this is how I do these kinds of scenes. I color up a lot of different details and then I put them together. I just pick from my little pile, and then I have a pile lying there and I can do fun things with that one. So for other cards. Now I'm coloring on the back side of the vellum, so I stamped on one side and I'm coloring on another, and this is because the archival ink is not Copic safe. So if you want to do this, do not color with your Copics onto your archival ink because that won't be pretty. I cut everything out. Most of these things do have kind of coordinating dies, but I have a tendency not to buy them. And when I do videos like these, I really get that because it takes forever to cut them out. And then I'm cutting out these different wings, and I just wanted to show you that I cut them out on the black line. And this is how I'm going to add them, because I'm going to give some extra dimension to my character with these little vellum wings. So I'm using my Martha Stewart craft knife to cut a slit in my little fairy there, where the wings is, so that I can kind of push them in, and then I can adhere them with some tape. And I actually just kept on using my creative tape here because that was what I had on my table, but you can use basically any craft tape or glue or anything. And then I'm just pushing it down. I'm lining it up on the sides and I'm pushing it down. I did want to have 2 layers, so I'm pushing one up, then I'm adding a new piece of tape on top of the old piece of tape. I again stick in the wing, another wing in underneath the first wing, and then I push that down, and now I have double fairy wings. I cut a little slit there to be able to fold those wings a little easier, and yeah, a little fluttery fairy. I never used these, but I wanted to show you how I put together the little day something. No, I know what they are. In Swedish they are called trollslända, which basically is like troll something. So yeah, anyhow, I know what they are. Now I'm gonna put together my little scene here. So I cut off a little bit of the pieces from these botanicals. I also have cut away the flower. Had that little corner one where I had a big red flower and 2 branches. Well, I'm only using the 2 branches, and that is also a thing you can do as much as you want. So I kind of figured out where I wanted that to be. I'm using some multimedia matte here to adhere the first ones because I didn't want too much bulk. This is from the flower, the corner flower that I just cut the little flowers from. Then I'm gonna continue building up. So I'm just building up this little pile of leaves, which I love doing this. This is so much fun. And after I add the glue onto the big one here, I'm starting to feel that the glue doesn't have that much cardstock to sit on. So this is where I decided, well, I'm going in with my glue dots instead, because they are stickier in another way, so it's easier for them to stick in the long run, or in the short run. In the long run, liquid glue, when it dries, it really sticks, but these kind of tape adhesives or glue dots, they don't dry, so you can always pull them off a little bit. However, I never do that with the glue dots because you tear everything. I wanted a little bit dimension on that little sentiment, so I cut a piece of foam tape in 2, and then I add that one. And there's my little fairy that has the fluttering wings. I decided to go with the glue dots again. I have one of these glue dot rolls, and I've had this for ages, like years. That is how much I use my glue dots. But I love having them for these little things because they're so small and they're so easy to get off. However, I do think I would recommend using the paper one, and that isn't in the dispenser, because that is easier to actually work with in the end. But I want to finish off my dispenser now that I have one. But yeah, that was kind of all of the details of my little box. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just comment down below. If you like this video, please thumbs it up. And if you want to see more like this, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you like this really much, you can share it with your friends, and that would mean so much for me. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!